Thank you for being here. My name is Brad Rourke. I'm President and CEO of Scottie Resources. What do I do here? Oh, there we go. It's pretty set to hit the green arrow. That might work. I'll just go on there. So we're an exploration company working very close to where Ken just spoke about in the southern end of the Golden Triangle. This will be our 8th year, and really can't emphasize the Golden Triangle. You know, I was part of the Creek staking rush. I spent 100 days up at Bronson Slope, did a lot of Murray Pesham's work. But even when Creek and Snipper, the stories of the day, called the early 90s, late 80s, we'd never had buy-in like we have had now with these majors. And the amount of money that's come into our area in the last 5 years is really, really good. $5.5 billion, that's a rough estimate. But what that should give us comfort in as being investors is that it's not a flash in the pan area. I think once that Northwest transmission line came into the area, you can have confidence that you got a generation of exploration happening here. We're not going anywhere soon. You've got a great project like what Ken just described. So there's a lot of things happening in the area that should give everybody confidence that this is a place that you want to have a position in. So again, you can see our little land position there in gold, and we'll show that to you in a moment. What got me interested in this, I was living just off that screen. I live in a little town called Smithers, so next to the McLeods. I'm a local in the area, and I was a founding shareholder of a company called Black Diamond Camps, and we deployed some equipment up on to build that Bruce Jack power line. And that equipment sat right looking over at the past-producing Scotty Gold Mine. So I was like going, they're building this hydropower. Here's a mine that produced a half ounce per ton in the 1980s. And from what I could tell at that time, Don McLeod found a vein on surface and started mining. Even though it was producing a half ounce per ton, the fatal flaw for Don is he borrowed $20 million from the Royal Bank of Canada. And when the commodity price rolled over, it wasn't that the mine wasn't being profitable. He just couldn't get out from under that weight because it was a 22% interest on a $20 million facility. So the Royal Bank foreclosed on it. And the only other person ever to work on the project ever again was Bruce McLeod. Bruce drilled the zone that Scotty produced all the gold from in 2003, 2004. And I think his goal was to take those rocks and just throw them through the Westman Mill, which is the premier mill, which is now SCOT mill, which should be turning gold in Q1 or maybe Q2 of the 2024. So I'm like, okay, there's a hydropower line going behind a gold mine that produced a half ounce per ton. What could go wrong? Well, that was 8 years ago, and then my education started. So my fatal flaw is it was 400 hectares. That was it. And so I kind of took my maps around, and I'm going to see the bigger guys. Peter Brown was the first guy I went to go see, and he's like, Brad, it's 400 hectares. God help you if you find something. So I went on a consolidation spree. I self-funded the company up until about 2019 and done over a dozen transactions. What you can see there now is we have 60,000 hectares in the southern end of the Golden Triangle with 7 past producing mines in total. We are just going to talk about Blueberry. That's where we're getting all the attention and news. But if you look way down to the south, that's the old Georgia River mine. We drilled that for 2 seasons, and we've had great success. The only reason we haven't gone back in the last couple of years is just because it takes a helicopter, and because capital is so hard to come by. We really just have to go after our low-hanging fruit. And we made such a great discovery at Blueberry. That's what we've been focusing on, and we'll get to that in a moment. But again, you can see road access, power access to the 2 major pieces. So we're just kind of blessed to be in that southern end and just maybe a little bit easier than some of the other great stories in our area. I cannot emphasize this enough, and it's the infrastructure that we're blessed in. We just completed a 20,000 meter drill program last week. I only raised $6.5 million this year. We got 20,000 meters in with that money. All in cost $335 a meter, including geophysics. And it's because I'm a frickin' good operator, but also it's the infrastructure that we're blessed with. I have the town of Stewart that can help support my camp efforts, just 40 kilometers up the road. In fact, Ken, we was in our camp for one of the Gold Storm projects. So we're just, we operate out of the old Grand Duke camps. We have a hard shell camp. We also have a mine permit. So the infrastructure that we have is, I just can't emphasize, it's such a big advantage for us, and that's why we see those low drill costs. And then, of course, we'll talk about the grades and what those mean here in a moment. Did I miss anything? No, we got the road, there's a port. Again, we're lacking we have no desire for any infrastructure at all. That is a picture of the Scotty Gold Mine. You can see the portals going up to the left. And that was the flagship property for Scotty Gold Mine. And then we've kind of shifted our focus to the Blueberry. But you can see Blueberry is just right up over here. So it's just about 2 kilometers as the crow flies. And here we go. This is where the crushing circuit was in the Blueberry, in the Scotty Gold Mine. And again, it's produced 1/2 ounce per ton. Here's the actual deposit kind of up in here. And like I say, it was just economics that shut it down. We've outlined an old lake that used to be there, but there's a glacier off screen here that retreated. And in 1989, that lake has been continuously draining out. But what that has done for us is gives us extreme exploration potential. Oops, how do I go back? And one of those things would be, these are east-west striking peritite pyrite rich veins. Well, now we can go explore on the lake bed because that's where they were striking into before, and they couldn't get to those in the past. And as you can see, the Blueberry, a lot of that's going through that lake bed, and we're kind of tagging into that now and having extreme success. So there we go. This is Scotty Gold Mine. We'll talk about it a little bit. Like I say, we drilled it for a couple years. It operated from 1980 to 1984 with a 10-gram cutoff, and still was producing about 16.2 gram. That was the recovery at that time. So very high grade. So what we've done is we take a helicopter, we just pump up, and we can drive right to the bottom of the mine. So it's just a 0.1. It's a very, very easy helicopter. And we just drill these long holes and hit multiple vein sets as we go down. Quite a bit of success. If we take that 10-gram cutoff and bring it down to something more reasonable that we see today would be 3 grams, I think. And if you look at the mills on either side of me, one being the SCOT mill 15 kilometers away and the Brucejack mill 15 kilometers away. If we bring that down to what they're doing, there's a nice halo around that zones that they had found before. And you know, this is an easy pass to when it's time to put a resource together, of which we don't have right now, but we kind of are back of envelope. We really understand it well because there's a 700 drill hole database that we worked off of. And then that's our drilling there. I don't want to point out any of those grades, but they're all quite attractive. But it's the Blueberry zone that we really should just talk about, because with all that exploration potential, all those other things that are happening for us, if you look at the value of our company and seeing what we're finding here, it's easy to see that there's a little bit of ways that we can go. And when the market does turn, we're going to be participating without a doubt that we should be being fairly valued. So in 2019 was the very first drill program we ever did. And there's that vein that we have scrubbed out online is the exact same signatures that we see at the Scotty Gold Mine. Peritite pyrite at 4 meters width at surface and very high grade, but it had only been drilled to about 40 meters in the past. And again, 100 gram stuff on surface. So Thomas, my geologist here in the back, dipping about northwest dip. We're trying to hit that about 100 meters depth, just to see if that vein continued at depth. But way before we hit that vein, we hit this intercept of 7.5 grams over 34 meters. Beautiful intercept. We didn't understand it. In fact, if we didn't sample top to bottom, we probably wouldn't have put that rock into the lab, because it was nothing sexy about it whatsoever. But, you know, I asked a lot of advice from Rourke board, who did the model at Brucejack, and he says, Brad, sample top to bottom, it costs that, you're just going to learn. So that's what we did, and we hit that. But this is when COVID was, and assays were taking long, so we didn't get that until December, and we didn't understand it. So the next season, we went in, and we're a really tiny company. That first year, I only did 2,000 meters in total, right? We go into 2020, didn't understand that, so Tom was going, well, I'm going to do a tight drill program in around that intercept and kind of see what the geometry is. We still thought the vein was the controlling feature of the mineralization. But again, a nice little tight 25-meter drill program around that. And we come up with 22 grams over 6 meters. That's 15 meters from surface. 9 grams or 8.96 over 13 meters. These are very shallow holes, and that was to the north of it. It was at that time where Thomas goes, I don't think the vein's a controlling feature at all. What I think this could be, and it was just a theory at the time, it's a lithological contact. On the right side of your page, there's a siltstone, And on the left side is an andesite, a volcanic rock, of which hosts the Scotty Gold Mine and hosts a lot of the deposits in the Golden Triangle. But because we had this, he's going to think it's a lithological contact, but we can't see where that is, because it's the top of the valley bottom, full of glacial till. But the only place we could see the contact was on the roads. And you can see there's some old workings in there from the 1970s, but that was the only place we could put our fingerprints on that contact. And so we tested that theory in 2021, and we stepped out 200 meters to the north, 200 meters to the south, and boy, oh boy, did we hit 34 grams over 12 meters. That's 30 meters from surface. And then we hit as far as south, 4 grams over 12 meters, and then in the middle there. So as you can see, I don't need to hammer on any of those, 77 over 5. I mean, we really, really kind of proved that theory up, and everyone started getting excited. I think Thomas was correct. The controlling feature is that contact zone. So really excited, but again, this is when nobody cares about junior exploration. So we just kept going along our way and trying to get things done. So we went in 2022, and we put, I forget, probably about 12,000 more meters into the Blueberry. That lake bed is right here, so that perforated line is where we can't see that contact, so we don't know exactly where it is, but we did pick it up here on the other side of the lake, and we drilled about 5 holes, and 400 meter step out, 9 grams over 16 meters, 7 over 6 meters, so that system continued. So then now we're starting to get really, really excited, and at this point, we dropped it to about 390 meters of depth, and we were still hitting very wide, very big intercepts. The deepest hole is this 7 grams over 24 meters, and that, still it's holding in with width and grade, and that's at about 390 meters depth. We've gone down to 500 meters this season, and stay tuned, we're also waiting for those results. So again, that system, we've taken it from zero, a Blueberry vein, to about 1.5 kilometers in strike, and down to about 400 meters, and again, just extremely exciting grades. When you know that those are right on surface and steeply dipping, we're just basically posting on the road. On the road. So it's important to see that. They've been driving that Grand Duke Road. There's the old Grand Duke copper mill right there. Our camp's right in this area here. But they've been driving on that. They knew that Blueberry vein was there for 40 years. Just nobody ever thought to turn the drill in a different way. Classic story, but again, right on the road. So that means it's really accessible, and that's why my drill costs are as cheap as they were. So we'll look at this in a little bit of a long section, kind of a heat map, kind of compressed, but again, just to kind of see, those are all 100 gram meter holes. There's another 6 that we didn't put it on there because it just makes the map look pretty congested. 15% of our holes last year were over 100 gram meters, and we just did an indiscriminate diamond pattern of 100 meters because we're just really trying to understand how things are going. So the results were really, really fantastic. And as you can see to the north, that mineralization does get cut off. There's a large regional fault, but we actually think we found that offset, and I won't get into it today, but I mean, Thomas is here if we really want to get deep into the weeds on geology, certainly have Thomas to speak with. And then what we also have is, if you see here, about another 600 meters that hadn't been tested. That's all on the lake bed. And so we've tested that this year. We put 4 or 5 holes into there, so that's also news to come. So the bulk of our program, we did 20,000 meters. We did 17,000. It looks like I'm shaking. I'm very calm. We put 17,000 meters onto that Blueberry. We did drill some blind geophysical targets that we have at Scotty. I mean, it's certainly not dead by any stretch of the imagination, but it does take a little bit of a helicopter. And then that's faulted. We think that we found where that offset is. It just gets exploited by an intrusion in here. And we've drilled some holes, and they're very interesting from a geological point of view. For an arm waver like me, maybe I don't even quite understand it, but we've got some 0.3 gold over a whole length of a hole, and it really excites the technical crowd because maybe that's the source of the event that's happening and such. So we put another couple big holes into that this year, trying to understand that. But mostly we're just focusing on that easy accessible ore at the Blueberry. Another way to look at it, what we've done, and really what this is showing is what you can expect in the near future on our 20,000 meter drill program. If you remember that long section, that's the yellow. We basically just kind of went 100 meters underneath that thing to see how it goes, tested that 600 meters that hadn't been tested yet, and filling in large gaps that we had on that original 700 meters. So that's what you can kind of expect. We did put out a news release right before the show, of course, last week, just to kind of, let people know that we're in the game. And that intercept was 56 grams over 3.7 meters. It sits in here. There's a little gap between Fifi and Lamoffy. And so, again, starting a news session with a nice drill result. But, again, so much more. We maybe have released 700 meters of 20,000 meters total. So lots of news to come. Really proud of the board. All I need to emphasize on the board is nobody knew each other before the formation of the board. And that might be a little unique with some of these exploration companies. And a diverse set of skill sets there. I got Ernie Mass. Everyone kind of knows Ernie Mass. He's done some extremely good things. But he sees it kind of from a C-suite type lens. And then to balance him off, we got John Williamson, and if you know John Williamson, he's more of a knife-fighting junior exploration guy. And so those two guys always give me two different opinions. Steve Stein comes from the service side. He's an accredited board member, built Black Diamond camps from a napkin to a $2 billion company. And Ellie Owens on the board. And Ellie Owens, if you don't know her, she's one of the best, working really, really hard, great work ethic. How much time?
You're out of time.
I'm out of time. We've got really, really solid shareholders. We'll leave it at that. But again, it was 100% retail when no one heard of me. It's 14 of us own about 62% of the company. So what we've done is attracted some really, really big names. Ross Beatty, Eric Sprott, Gold 2000. So these are the guys who've been supporting me. If you look at my chart, we haven't lost anybody any money. We haven't made anybody any money. But from a private placement point of view, I mean, I think sideways is the new up. And when the music turns on, that's high grade on surface. And again, metallurgical work compatible with both the Bruce Jack and the SCOT mills.
Thanks very much, Brad.